it is a classic election in terms of just how unpredictable it is and just how unexpected it is. If you'd have said to me a year ago that we are going to be discussing seriously that Donald Trump is going to be the Republican nominee, I think every single serious commentator in Washington would have laughed in your face. And I think that it's now laughable from those people who suggest that he won't be the candidate. I just think it's, he's virtually unstoppable now as the Republican candidate. So in that sense, yeah, this is a race of the ages. This is a one-off. This is extraordinary. On the other hand, you might end up with Hillary Clinton as president, a kind of pretty normal politician who has been Secretary of State, who's been a senator, who's very experienced. But there is the possibility that America could, for the first time, elect someone who has neither held high office or been elected to anything or been a senior member of the armed forces. It's perfectly possible. Yes, I mean, there will be different. I mean, if it's Donald Trump, there'll be huge differences. There might be a wall that stretches 2,000 miles along the border with Mexico. There might be, I can't see how you would actually implement it, but there might be a ban on all Muslims coming into the country, because those are the things he said. So in that sense, yeah, there could be seismic changes in America. I heard Condi Rice on a platform just a couple of nights ago where she's saying, when a candidate says, the thing I'm going to do on day one, she said, they're never going to do it. They will get to office, they will realise that life is more complicated, that there are more nuances, there are more alliances that you need to build, and it will never happen. And I think that's a very good piece of instructive advice, that actually the constraints of the job will stop them doing the wild, far-out things that maybe sound good on a campaign platform. It's a really long, drawn-out process, and a lot of people could, in other times could get really, really bored and think, oh no, not another day of Trump and all the rest of it. But it has been the most extraordinary ride that you're on, where you never know quite what's going to happen next. And it's a kind of, it's a roller coaster ride, and you've kind of suddenly got these vertiginous drops, and then you back up again, and it's a good process in a way, because actually it means that Americans get a very close look at their candidates, not only through the endless televised debates, but in very basic retail politics, whether it's in Iowa, New Hampshire, wherever it happens to be. You've got to be on the ground, you've got to be shaking hands, you've got to be talking to people, you've got to be listening to people's concerns. I think that's a pretty good piece of democracy. There are certain overlaps in all politics, in the sense that you can see what people are doing, you can see why they're doing it, you can see the spin operation that takes place after someone's spoken about what they were really trying to say, and all of that feels very much the same. American politics just feels bigger, it feels more muscular, it feels richer, there's more conflict, there's more excitement, and and this particular electoral season, primary season, they're always dirty. And I was reading a book by Teddy White on the 1964 election, and the brutality of what went on then. But this is something else. People think of America, this vast landmass, that it takes 5.5 hours to fly from where I live in Washington, D.C., across to the West Coast, that it's one homogenous whole. There are lots of different Americas. You've got the very strong evangelical votes in certain states, and then it's white working class in another. It might be the African American vote, but within the Bible Belt, and then you've got the liberal East Coast and the West Coast. So there are a lot of different Americas, and the mistake people make is trying to lump it as one amorphous mass. I mean, look, his place is in the history books, assured, without doubt, as the first African American president. He is spectacularly articulate. He is a brilliant speech maker, brilliant kind of one-to-one interviews. In domestic policy, in 2008, I mean, there was the height of the financial crisis. The car industry looked like it was going to go bankrupt. You look at America today, and it's a hell of a lot better than that. That said, there are an awful lot of people who feel that the American dream has left them behind, who feel that actually the 1% or the 0.1 of 1% are doing exceptionally well, and the rest of America is struggling with stagnant wages, with all the problems that are associated with that. And so he leaves a country that's not kind of feeling wealthy and at ease with itself. There are problems. On foreign policy, I mean, we can sense the frustration in the most recent interview he's done with The Atlantic magazine. But there are other things that you can point to and say that America, in a lot of ways, if you just look at the statistics of the jobless totals and the rest of it, is doing pretty well. I would never have dreamed. I would never have dreamed even 10 years ago, even when my journalistic career was pretty advanced and I was doing moderately well, that I would be sitting in the White House interviewing the president. And I have done. No, when I was at Southampton University, I was thinking, God, wouldn't journalism be fun? And I was so thrilled that when I got my first job at Radio Solent in Southampton, and I was reporting on whatever the local beat was on Southampton City Council, and who was in and who was out and who was up and who was down. And I'm doing the same job effectively. You could say I've had a really boring career because I'm doing the same thing 30 plus years later. I'm just doing it on a slightly bigger stage.
And anyone who's sitting there now on campus thinking, I'd like
Live
to be
the dream.
Jon Sopel.
Live the dream. Make it, it's possible. Don't be delusional. Not everyone can be the next president of the United States, but broadly speaking, it is within reach.